All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's edition. Of course, we have been talking about entertainment or creative industry in the Southeast, and we're looking at the loopholes. We are looking at the ways we can make it better. We are looking at different things, things that make up industry, entertainment or creative industry, as it were. And the first episode, we started by analyzing or spotlighting the historical background of the entertainment industry in the Southeast. And we were able to highlight some of the important historical experience or events that happened at the time. And we also, brought attention to what role many people played at the time, especially the record label, the artists themselves, and of course the government, how they truncated a lot of things that were happening at the time. Then the second episode, we ventured into the record label, um, the media rather. We ventured into the media, their role in the industry, what they're supposed to do and what they didn't do well, and how they played the role they played. And of course, we stressed it all to this very moment, how the new media has contributed immensely in the development of creative industry. And the last episode was about the record label, record label, their roles, and how you can attract record labels and artists, how you're able to position yourself from independent artist to an artist that is signed to a record label, well-known record label. And we also spoke on how you can actually um, groom yourself as an independent artist, how you can package yourself as an independent artist in order to attract investment. Because this is business, let's face it. It is business, it is not a charity organization. Therefore, it's supposed to be treated as business. So we spoke on that, and we were able to make a lot of headway on that regard. Then we also spoke on how artists can actually deliver themselves to the global stage without any support, and we're able to point out factors that can actually mitigate that, that can help to do that. We had in our list Chuka. Chuka is a co-founder of Golibet Music. He's a solution strategist, musicpreneur, talent developer, and of course, a secretarial entrepreneur. Chuka has been responsible for so many developments, especially in the entertainment industry in the Southeast and Nigeria in general. And we discussed a lot of things, and I hope today we are talking about the what makes an artist. For example, we are following this sequentially from the historical to media to record level to how you are going to be able to attract record level. How possible are you going to, what you need to do as an independent artist to attract record labels or investors. Then when you get to attract, let's assume that you have already attracted that record label or investors. The next step is to put yourself out there as an artist, a real artist. The things you need to do, how the role you need to play in order, to establish yourself as an artist. So we have today to discuss this and have more insight on this is Phil Chuka. Chuka, if you are here, kindly indicate. I've been trying to accept you, but hasn't been going. Maybe I'm able. You should help me to accept him on stage so that he will come up on stage and we'll pick up immediately.
I'm also trying from my end to accept Choka, and but I think there is an issue from his end also.
Okay, I made sure. Okay, Chuka is here now. So Chuka, you're welcome. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, you're welcome. We can hear you.
Okay. I may request that you may, come in when I ask you to come in because the background voice noise from your place is quite huge, distracting us a lot. So maybe you come in when I need you to come so that everybody will off their mic and so that we don't have the kind of fallback we are getting. Okay. Chuka, you're welcome. So the last time we had this conversation, we spoke about how the roles of record labels and of course how music artists, people who are creative, to be able to attract investors, how they can attract record labels, for example, music artists, the things they need to do as an indie artist in order to attract record label investors. Now, today we are looking at what makes an artist. It's not just about your content. Is this the only content I should ask? If it is, what are the things, other things that need to be done as an artist while you are signed or even as an independent artist? The things you need to do and how you need to carry yourself, the places you need to go. As an artist, am I supposed to go and buy a car the way I used to do? Am I supposed to do the same, walk around the way I used to do? So these are many of the things that we'll be talking about. So you are welcome to the Twitter. Chuka, can you hear me? Unmute yourself so that you're able to.
Yes,
All
I
right.
can hear you. Yes, I can
All
hear
right.
you. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah,
Good
you're welcome
afternoon
to.
for some, and good morning for some as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here again, and today is going to be something different from what we've been doing before, in the sense that this today is not focused so much on the industry as much as it is on the artist himself. Uche, hello, are you there?
Yeah, we are listening. We are listening. So today we are looking
Okay,
at an artist.
yeah. Okay, so let me just get it from, I like to start from the foundation. Sometimes I have to refer to the dictionary, what is noun in the context of music. So, and in the context of maybe the context of a singer, So, because an artist is a professional entertainer, practically, basically, but that could be a dancer, it could be a saxophonist, it could be a pianist. You know, there are many things you can do as an artist, but I believe we're talking in the context of a singer right now, or probably an instrumentalist as well. And in that context, an artist is someone who sings and performs to an audience to entertain, to communicate, and to create some kind of experience for his audience. It's music is a medium of expression. It's also a language. It's also a spirit. So an artist is for an artist in the music industry, an artist, I would divide an artist into three different sides, or I would say there are three different sides to an artist. Um, for some reason, one is the creative person, is the creator of the sound, is the creator of the emotions, the things that you do. Like you as an artist, you create experience for people who come to watch you or who listen to you as they listen to your audio music or watch you on a video or watch you on the stage. You evoke certain emotions for every song that you do. So that brings out the creative side of you. You do something that people are not used to hearing. You are able to sing and produce sound in a certain way that is above the average person. Like in karaoke, people walking and just sing. They pick up a song by Whitney Houston or by Michael Jackson or by Wizkid or by Fela or Lagbaja and sing. Just do an attempt at singing. But when you sing to the level that everybody can tell that this is very, very excellent, then you are performing as a professional because you are performing with your talent, not just with basic ability to open your mouth and make a sound, but you are singing according to the rules of music. You're on pitch, you are singing on the key, you are following the right tempo, you maintain your tempo, all that is in place. So you are a professional singer. Um, on the other side, there is a brand. There is a brand. The brand is the personality. The brand is is the created product that people see or experience, is the business side of it. And there is another one, which is the you, the person. And the person is the most important of these three, but most of the times people don't really pay attention to the person because it's the person. It comes from the person. So these are the this is how I define an artist. You know, an artist is in three parts. One is the creator, the other one is the brand, and the other one is the person. Might stop there for now.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, that was a very brilliant definition. From what you said, it's clear that artist is just beyond your content. There are other things that you need to do or you need to incorporate before, in order to have that full artistry, as an artist. So, can we have those things? Can we have those things that one needs to have or needs to possess, and in order to have a complete artistry as an artist?
Okay. From Nigerian perspective, you it depends on what you're looking for, but I still believe that people should go into music if the talent, only if they have the talent. Why? Because people are paying for this. People are going to invest in this. You're going to want people to invest. Either you have your record label invest, or you have some kind of executive producer invest in your music, or even if you don't, even if you use your money or your family money or your friends' money to do that, you're going to expect people to invest in the experience that you give them by paying for your music, either buying the music or streaming the music. Whatever they're doing to listen to your music, they are making certain investments. It could be time, it could be data, it could be all of it, money. So you should at least have the talent and should be able to tell when you have the talent, not just based on what your mother tells you, because we know, I don't know about other places, but in Africa, our mothers are the greatest motivational speakers. Once they see any sign of anything you have or you love doing, not even the things that you're very good at, but the fact that you love this and you love to do this and you do it often. Your mom says you are absolutely, and then from there you pick up the courage and start doing something with it. Some parents, if they don't approve of what you're trying to do, they might try to discourage you. But if it's something your mom loves or admires, definitely they encourage you, and before you know it, they tell their friends, they tell everybody that wants to listen. My son can sing, or my son can play the drums, or all that. So that can actually deceive you a little bit. But if you're a reasonable person, you can tell whether you have a talent or not, because talent is actually that which makes it possible for you to do something that most people wouldn't be able to do without much effort. Most people can sing, but they can't sing without much effort. They have to try to train. Yeah, there are so many things they have to do to be able to sing correctly. And even when they do, it won't be excellent most of the times. But as a talented person, it doesn't take you a lot of effort to do that. It's easier for you. It's second nature. It's natural for you. And then the inspiration also is a signal to the fact that you have talent. So talent is very, very paramount. Talent is basic. Why I'm saying this is because it's important that the industry has more of that than just people who have ability to hustle and people who really, really want to become famous. You know, so if you think you have talent, then the next thing is to understand that this is going to be a journey. You are starting something that you've never done before, something that most people will fail at, something that requires a long time of development, and it's going to take a process. You're going to go through stages, and the most important stage is finding who you are. Then you take it from there and do series of trainings. If you're going to have to go to a music school, if you have to go to do some music courses, if you have to attend music workshops, if you have to buy an instrument and learn how to play an instrument, if you have to join a choir, you could join a choir. It's always great at the early stages. There are so many things you need to do to train yourself. And if you invest a lot of time and some money doing that, give yourself some time, then the talent begins to blossom after some time. But that's early stage, it must be nurtured. It has to be nurtured. I am saying that because a lot of people, even those who have talent, sometimes just come out without really much work on their talent. Talent is just like a tree that bears fruits. You know, you have to nurture that tree or that plant to grow right, to grow to its full potential before you begin to pluck the fruits from it, or else you are stunting the growth. It's the same thing with music because you're digging a well, you're digging a well, and if you dig a well not so well, and water starts coming up, and because you can see water, you stop. At some point, it's going to dry up. At some point, you're going to have issues. But there are standards when you're digging the well. There is a level you must get to. There's a level of water you must before you can tell that you have gotten to the crux place where the water really really comes out without you making so much effort on its own. It's the same thing with talent. When you keep digging like that, it becomes easier for you to always go back to that talent and pull something out of nowhere, even on the stage or in the studio, anywhere. So talent development is very very key. Another thing I always say is that um, mentorship is a factor that everybody who is an artist need to embrace embrace seriously. Everybody I know personally who is a great artist today has a story that refers to one or two or three persons who helped them at some point. Either the person was there as a midwife, or the person was there as basically a coach, or the person was there as a leader. Maybe they were in a group, or it was a music director, but there's always someone to give you direction, to give you tips, to correct you, to tell you what you can add to your ability, the areas you need to work on, all of that. But when you have that development, it helps you to realize the full potential of your talents. So that is the most important thing to do as a musician. Start with find you know uh, uh, um, finding ways to develop yourself. Then get into the journey with patience, with consistency, try to define who you are. So I'm talking from the creator side now. I'm still talking about the creator side now. And that might take you 10 years sometimes to develop yourself. It might take you 5 years. It depends on what your process is, depends on the weight of your talent, because talents are in levels. Even the Bible self gave us some kind of illustration that God gave one, the master gave one talent, gave the other one 2 talents, and gave the other one 5 talents. I used to wonder why did they call it talent instead of money, but when you try to see it from the angle of music talent, you can understand why. Because there are certain people who have more talent or who appear to have much more talent than the others. Whatever they touch, before you know it, they have learned it. They learn it so quickly. So that is important. Knowing that you have talent, establishing that fact, then working on that talent for as long as it takes. Putting in serious work, serious work. Sometimes it might require sacrifices, prices will be paid. You might forego certain things. Your social life might suffer. Sometimes even part of your relationship with your family might suffer. Your lifestyle might suffer in the sense that you may not be available to people who need you when they need you, because talent, music is very 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 jealous. It's a jealous lover. When it takes hold of you, when it hold of you, it doesn't let go. It does not let go. You can hardly do other things when you are still picking it up. Another thing is the passion. you know I have seen people who have talent without passion. I don't understand it, but I've seen it. And there is hardly anything you can achieve in this world at a high level if you don't have a certain degree of passion for it. Why? Because passion does a lot of things for you. One of the things you derive from passion is inspiration, adrenaline, dopamine. It just comes. It aligns with what is on the inside of you and draws from that well whenever you need it. And another thing is it helps you connect with other people who have the talent you have. Let's say you're working in the studio with a producer, or you're doing a rehearsal with instrumentalists, or you are singing on the stage, or you're meant to sing on the stage with a singing partner. It's your passion that connects the two of you. That chemistry comes from your passion, and then your concept of the music you're making. That's what connects you. It's an emotion that cannot be, it's not tangible, but it's powerful. It can unleash all kinds of things, and interestingly, that passion can actually unleash different kinds of emotions as well. So as an artist, you have to understand that what you do is to evoke emotion. If you create a song that is about hope, the emotion you will evoke in the song will inspire hope, or should inspire hope. If you're singing a song about pain, the emotion you evoke in the song, apart from the lyrics, has to also present or express some kind of pain, especially pain that aligns with the lyrics. The same applies to, let's say you're talking about love, romance. The emotion has to feel like it. The emotion has to express that. So your passion is dynamic, or it has to be dynamic. You have to be able to move into different rooms in your passion and express yourself according to the song you're making or the song you're performing. So an artist needs to understand these important things: your talent, your training, your passion. They are extremely, extremely important because they can take you to anywhere that you don't even plan to be. Then I think you have to be able to define who you are as an artist. Now I'm going towards the brand side of it. You have to be able to define who you are, in terms of what you like as an artist. What kind of music do you like as an artist? You know, what matters to you as an artist? Because you are a messenger as an artist. You're not just a creator, you're a messenger. You're a tool that can be used by the universe or by people doing an agenda. It could be anything. You are available for the universe, you're available for human beings, you're available for kings, you're available for the government, you're available for causes. So it depends on what resonates with you, what really matters to you. Why I say that is because it has to come from you. So if you're someone who believes so much in love and you are invested in romance, then maybe that's part of what your music is about. There are some who are advocates. They also make all kinds of music, but they are advocates. They are almost activists. People like Michael Jackson was like that. So you have to find that personality in you as an artist. What do you want to represent? And that is where your identity comes from, because it will determine a lot of things about you, how you answer questions when you're on the stage, how you make up your lyrics, what your lyrics is all about, you know, and your name will also go with that. I've noticed that a lot of people think that a name is not important. They don't really consider a name important. I know that sometimes name comes from unplanned activities. Sometimes it works that way because inspiration is spontaneous. Sometimes it comes from a suggestion by somebody who knows better. I know an artist everybody knows in Nigeria who I gave his name. It was like a joke. We're in a sitting room and he brought the CD flyer of a song you wanted to make. You wanted to release, and I was like, this name you're using doesn't suit you. This name has Baba in it, and you're making contemporary R&B kind of music. I don't see how they relate. And that was when we had people like Daddy Shoki, Baba Fraye, and all that. I was like, mm-mm. When people see this name, they will have a particular impression of you before they hear your music. Why don't you find a name that fits with the sound you're trying to make, fits with the personality you have? They were like, so what do I use? I just coined something from his name and gave him playfully. And next time I saw him, he had it on his music flyer. I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. Fine. And till today, the name exists. So I don't want to mention who the person is, but that was because it matters how your personality aligns with your name as an artist. And that's part of branding. That's a huge part of branding because when people call you, something happens. Whenever your name is mentioned, something happens. Now, your brand is basically a perception that you intend for people to have of you, a general perception of who you intend for the audience or for your market or for your or for the music industry to have of you. That's what your brand is, and it involves different things. It involves your name. It involves your personality. It involves your dispositions towards things. It involves the kind of music you make. It involves how you express yourself, even in the music. It involves how you sing, how you move on the stage. Sometimes it involves how you dress. Are you old school? Are you laid back? Are you contemporary? Are you vulnerable? Are you crazy? Are you eccentric? Are you trying to be sexy? All that is part of your brand. And what makes it a strong brand? Part of it is the ability to keep that personality, sustain that personality, like be consistent about that personality that you are bringing out. Each time people see you or hear about you, it shows in your interviews, it shows in your, even when you have controversy, the way you handle it. It shows. The most important thing is that your PR is going to have to shape and tailor everything about you around that intended brand, around that intended personality. Are you the kind of person that is easily provoked? Are you aggressive? As a personality, it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly who you are, but that's the personality that you are expressing through your music. Then everything about it should be like that. If you're a gentleman and your music is the music of a gentleman, it's aligned. But if you're a very gentle person and your music is loud, it might not align. So all of that is built
Okay,
around.
hold on a second. Shuka,
Yeah.
in fact, I'm sure if I allow you, you are not going to stop because I wanted you to, to finish a point, then you went into another one, and
It's
there we are
okay.
now. So,
It's okay to stop.
yeah, you really said a whole lot of things. And what I asked was, what are those attributes? What are those things that artists need to focus on? For example, when you are signed under any record label, then you know that that is where the journey begins. Because it's not just about talent. You made it very clear for what you said. It's not just about talent. Talent is just a microcosm. It's just a minute percentage of all it takes. Then your personality, how you pose your personality on stage, your presence anywhere, an interview, your fashion, your lifestyle, everything about you,
Yes.
must represent what you are putting out. And these are the things that you made very clear.
Yes.
Bringing it home, yeah, bringing it home, taking it to outreach and where we are focusing on. What exactly do you see that is quite lacking among the artists from the party that that do not possess some of these uh, characters? And I don't want us to delve into some of the things that we may speak on the on next topic, but these are what you have already mentioned,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
what are lacking, and how do you think we can fix some of this?
Okay. Sorry, I'm actually having a hard time hearing you very clearly. It seems like there's some kind of echo in your background, so it makes it difficult for me to hear you very clearly. Do you follow? Hello?
Yeah, I'm
Hello?
here. So let me change my. I'm gonna change something right now so that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sure you can hear me.
Oh, yes, it's better now.
Phone, and I'm having another one, so I believe this is better. So what I
Yeah.
asked earlier was, I
Yeah.
mentioned what you have already reeled out, the character, the things that artists supposed to possess, the type of things, the type of disposition they're supposed to, do, things they need to do, wherever they go to, how consistent they need to be in order to represent the brand they're projecting as an artist, because it's not just about the content. While you were talking, I wanted to interject and make a point about how it is said that anybody can actually learn how to sing. I give you an example. My senior brother, he was a very bad singer, until recently he started learning. And that was about 10 years ago. He started learning, and right now I can tell you he's very good. He's good with instruments. He's good with other things, when it comes to music.
but he was a very bad singer. It was very bad. Like he couldn't even. He always skip off the line whenever we are singing. So I believe anybody can learn how to sing, but beyond singing, as an artist, there are other things like skills. There are other skills, that things that you need to bring in when you are when you want to express your inner mind as an artist, because it's about expressing yourself, expressing your emotion, expressing your artistry and everything. So I asked you, bringing it down home to Southeast, where we are coming from, what are those things that you see that are lacking, and do you have any solution to this? Do you have idea on how this can actually be mitigated? That was the question. Hello? Can anybody else hear me? Maybe, are you still there?
I can hear you.
Yes, Uche, we can hear you.
All right. Kindly mute your mic, Amegu. There is so much noise in your background. I don't know why it's that is happening. Okay, until Chuka comes back, so we have to move on. We have any books. If you want to make contribution, kindly request. So you come up stage and let's have a conversation on this. Any books, you've been here and you've been listening to what we are saying. What do you think you can you have to say on this?
What it means to be an artist. Wow, it's actually kind of complex topic.
Can you increase your voice a little bit? I don't know if it's from my own end only. Yes.
Is it better now?
I think it's still the same. Go ahead. I can hear you anyway.
Okay. Now, I was saying that it's kind of complicated, kind of complex, not complicated. So, being an artist, artistry is something you're born with. Yeah, you can out of maybe you like this, or maybe it's a hobby, and then decide to pursue it as a career. But when you're born with it, you're born with it. Like it's something that when you do it, for example, music, when you make music or when you sing, it takes you to another galaxy, like in another whole place. Everything that's your problem is gone. You don't like that passion. When you have that kind of a thing that you can do this thing all day, all your life, and be happy, that's it. But of course, not everyone can have that kind of passion. But that's one of the things you need to understand that, yeah, this thing is for me. And then when it comes to you preparing to become that artist, the professional one, I think it was you that said that once a label signs you, that's when your career starts. No, but that is actually the problem artists are having. When you think you begin when the label comes for you actually begin the day you decide I want to be an artist, with or without a label, even if it's just you in your room, that's the day your career begins. That's the day.
No, there was a contest to that. There was actually a contest to that, and the contest is that we started from historical background on entertainment or creative industry in the Southeast. Then we moved to the role of media, then the role of a record label, how to attract record labels or investors as a creative or content creator. Then today we are now discussing what makes an artist. Are you now, for example, you are assuming that you have already gotten a sponsor or an investor? Yes. Now, what makes you as an artist? How do you build yourself while you are already signed into? That is the contest.
Okay. Well, hard work, consistency. Discipline, a lot of discipline. And hard work. Basically, you have to work. Because now it's not like back then.
There's something you mentioned. Then I would like to maybe go back to that point. You said passion. You spoke about passion because that's actually the only thing that differentiates you between someone who is talented but not interested in becoming, taking music as a career, and
Yeah.
someone who is also talented but taking music as a career. That is the most defining,
Yeah.
difference. That is the passion. So you were talking about that.
Yeah. It's it's something that you're born with. Like someone who has takes music as a hobby can never have that. Yeah, he might end up being a superstar, which is what life is about. Life is that way. But once you have the passion and you put in the hard work, that person will even see you, will see your back because you have the talent and you have the passion, and then just put in the hard work, and then again, nobody will see you. You be on top of everybody. Just like when we're talking of people who could learn how to sing, yeah, the person will end up singing, but you can't compare that person to a natural born singer. It's basically the same thing. So the passion there is actually an advantage for the person who actually has it naturally. People can just like I'll take us to football for example. When they start comparing Ronaldo and Messi, say this one's naturally born, dribble, blah blah blah. This the other one is just hustle, blah, blah, something like that. But both of them are talented and they have their own styles of playing. But you look at one and be like, I think this guy has got something. He has something. It's just like, basically that way. So passion is very, very important. Like you say, very, very, very important. If you lack passion, then you have to work 2 times harder. 2 times harder than the guy for you to get to the level of the guy with passion. Because the passion it transports you to places. Like when you are maybe making a beat or maybe you're writing a song, man, that passion translates into many things. It could be emotions. It takes you to places you create a world for yourself. That's the passion and you have about that thing you're doing. So that which makes what you're doing rich. Enriches everything that comes out of that that time of hard work. That's exactly the difference between you and someone who just picked it up as a hobby and ended up making it a career. You know.
All right, thank you so much for that submission. That was a really brilliant one. And we are still at Amegu space. If you are just joining us, we are talking about creative industry in the Southeast. All right, and that's the major topic. Then on that, we are asking what makes an artist. What are the things that makes an artist an artist? Is it just because you can sing, or is it because you have talent? Is it because you are very you have the money, right? Or you find yourself around the circles of people who are ready made, who are known in the industry? Is that alone enough for you to be known as an artist? These are very important questions that we're asking because if you look at many Nigerian music artists today, so many of them do not have, you agree with me, so many of them do not have that talent, the talent of having very sonorous voice, having a very beautiful sound, beautiful voice that can emote, or that can take a lot of people off their feet. They do not possess that, but they have something that is going on for them, and that is passion. They have the zeal, they want to make music, and the audience or people who are following you or people who believe in your craft through different ways. So your fashion, your lifestyle, how you operate, when you're on stage, how you operate when you are speaking, maybe granting an interview, or when you run into controversy, how do you handle it? Some people come out, humble. Some people act humble. Some people act arrogant. These things are brand. You are known for arrogance. People will love you for that. You are known to be humble. People will love you for that. People will even hate you for acting so modest. They will call it, they will label it, they call it fake modesty. They can call it anything just because of the fact that they do not align with people who are modest naturally. So these are very unique, unique roles or unique threats. A lot of people who are creative, creatives should possess. You have to have your own well-defined, and it must represent you in total. It must represent you in total. It will not be like tomorrow you'll be humble, the next you become aggressive or become arrogant, right? So you have to be consistent so that people who are following you will not at some point get disappointed or get to ask themselves if they were actually following the right person, if they were with their senses when they started, following you. Because people don't follow artists or celebrities because of their music only. People may just, there are a couple of them that may like your music, but there are other things that keep them coming. There are other things that, that make them to own your brand. They spread your your content, anything about you. They spread it. They carry it on their head like gala. So it happens. We call it a stand culture, right? So Chuka, you're back. So we are trying to, we are trying to buy time before you come and, of course, continue from where you stopped. So where did we stop? We are talking about, I asked you all the things you mentioned. How are they lacking? All these things, how are they not available? Or if they are available, can you explain to us how it exists within Southeast? I think that's where we stopped.
Okay, first of all, I'm very sorry about what just happened. I don't want to talk the long story, but I'm having serious issues with the networks I'm using. I had two options tonight, and the two of them failed me. I had to reboot my phone and start all over again. But I'm happy I'm back. Okay, the industry, like we always say, is not yet very organized, like a proper industry. So it's difficult for artists to really get into these things we're talking about if they don't have the knowledge about it. For instance, starting your career as, let me say, secular artists, you don't really know where to start. If you're a gospel artist, at least you should start in your church, sing in the choir, and then pick up a lot of things from there, get guidance from there, get to sing with people and learn a lot of things, then eventually maybe get into a record label or something. But as a secular artist, most people don't know where to start. They just start following Wizkid and try to sing Wizkid's songs and one day get into studio and record. So the missing thing is there is not just structure, there is no culture of artist development yet. There is no existing culture of artist development in Nigeria. What I mean by culture is that the mindset is not even there. People don't even tell you what to do. Most people don't even know, even people who are not into music, in America, for instance, or in South Africa, say, I want to do music. The first thing people will ask you, are you going to go to a music school? Are you going to go to a music school? Are you going to go for talk? Because they understand that this is a profession, and a profession requires training, proper training. It's a process. So we don't have that culture here. Something is lost in that area. And it also applies in other creative areas, not just singing, but we're talking about singing now. So that is something that unfortunately doesn't exist. So most people have to find their way if someone guides them, or by happenstance. They just find themselves in the right places at the right time and follow that process till they become whoever they become. That's usually what happens. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move ahead. I may not be satisfied with all the things you said, but I will still probe for that maybe in subsequent episodes. So now we have a very big elephant in the room, and that's the fact that some of the artists who some of the up and coming artists who are still finding their ground, find it very difficult to actually do the first thing you said, and that is having a mentor. Being under anyone, right? They find it extremely hard to even listen to anybody that has been in the industry, be it a successful artist at the top, or almost successful or unsuccessful artists. There are, I said some time ago, there is so much, there's a graveyard of unsuccessful artists in Nigeria. There are a lot of people who haven't crossed that Rubicon. And it is very, there is a very short or very small room for people who are successful. If you look at it holistically, you find out there are very few successful artists among all the numerous
Yeah,
artists
I get what
in
you mean.
Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, in the whole world. Now, in Southeast, for example, these up and coming artists, how what would you tell them if they're listening right now to do in order to either get someone that they will listen to or get alternative to mentorship? Is there any alternative to that? Because nobody wants to serve anyone this time.
Okay.
Everybody wants to be Oga. So is there any alternative to that?
First of all, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Um, on the first thing you said, yeah, it's not a Nigerian problem. All over the world, America has a bigger graveyard. Trust me, America has a bigger graveyard of unsuccessful artists. I mean, you have you have talented artists on every block in New York. Every metro, when you go through the metro, every station you get to, there is someone doing something musical. Sometimes they're playing a piano, sometimes they just have a guitar with them, just doing something. Everybody's trying to express themselves somewhere. The whole place is filled with talents. So it's not a Nigerian problem. But our problem is that you don't have to be very successful to be an artist. That's where we have a problem. Unlike in those countries, because they have an industry, you can actually have a life, have a job as an artist, have a source of have your artistry as your source of high livelihood without being successful, in quotes, without being famous, without being popular. You can still have a life, have a job, have a career in music
That is
in those countries.
underground artists. The underground artists, they still have their
I wouldn't really call it. I wouldn't really call it underground artists. When I was a small boy, when I was really small, I used to see artists perform in different places. Like Mr. Zega used to say sometimes. I used to see a lot of artists perform in different bands, in different bars, different places. It was a normal thing for you to see people who you don't know from anywhere who have a career in music. There were not plenty of them, but it existed at that time. It was normal. When they say this person is a musician in those days, it doesn't mean the person is on TV or the person has an album. It just means the person plays music, the person sings and makes money from that. But unfortunately, the way the culture has embraced fame and projected fame, it makes it look like if you're not famous, you don't have a career. And because of that, all the energy, all the emphasis are going into making people famous to the point that those who don't get famous suffer because there is nothing for them. Everybody has to be at the top. But it shouldn't be that way. That's why there seems to be a big challenge. And the same thing has trickled down to the young people you're talking about. I mean, I'm not in a hurry to criticize young people when it's a general thing. If it's just one person, then I can say, this person has a problem. But when I realize that, like, let me give you an example. Generation Z, Gen Z is a misunderstood generation by the other generations. I believe that, and sometimes I try to acquaint myself with them to learn, to understand them, because if they think in a certain way, there is a reason why they think in a certain way. Somebody created that mentality for them. They didn't create it by themselves. They grew up in a particular society that molded them the way they are. To put it simply, the youth of every society is a product of the society itself. So if you want to blame the people, you blame the society itself. What are we doing? How did we create this? So I'm not in a hurry to criticize those kids because I think there is something going on. I believe that those kids or those young people have a mindset that doesn't let them listen to people. There is a reason why it's that way. I don't know exactly why, but I could guess that it has something to do with the idea of if you never blow, you don't have anything to give me. If you never blow, like me, I'm not successful as an artist.
I think it has to do with success bias.
Yeah.
It's something that definitely has to do with success bias, because if you know it all, why are you not doing it? If you understand this, why are you not doing it? Do you get? So I think
like I'm talking right now, an artist
Yeah.
might pop in there and look at my name. Who is this guy? What did he make any hit song? Why is he telling me about music? That is the culture we have. But unfortunately, most of the times, the guys who actually succeeded cannot even communicate to you how to make it because they can't explain it.
Exactly, because I listened to Rude Boy. So he said something very interesting. He said that the only thing he knows in this game now to sing go, that every other thing I don't know one. Now my brother, that is Jude.
Yeah.
So for him, the only thing he knows how to do is to just voice,
Yeah.
to sing. That every
Yeah.
other thing in the music industry or music business, he knows Sabi. And I can relate to that from what you're saying now.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people who are successful in this part of the world grappled it. They grabbed it by what we call konja. You know, they just keep pushing hard, working very hard. Whatever opportunity comes their way, they grab it with both hands. They just keep moving. Whatever comes, they just take it. You know, they just keep moving. It's their passion and their drive that gets them there. They don't necessarily follow a process that they can explain, that they can understand. It's usually most of the times when a good interviewer engages them and gets them talking in hindsight. They can see, okay, in retrospect, okay, this is what happened to my career as they're talking. Like one guy that is so good at that is Ebuka. I always watch Black Box interview by Ebuka. I remember the day he interviewed the video I watched where he interviewed Don Jazzy. He got him talking about things he never thought about how to talk about. You know, he never thought he would be able to articulate his story the way he did. But because somebody engaged him and got it out of him, he was able to bring it out. But if you call Don Jazzy on the stage and say, come and tell us how music career works, or come and tell us how an artist becomes successful, it might be difficult for him. I don't know whether he has tried that, but not everybody know how to teach you what they have. Most of the times, it only works well when the person tells you their story. So from their story, you pick everything. Like when I listened to Flavor talk about his story, it was anybody who is an artist, please go and look for Black Box interview. Black Box interview. It's done by what's the name of that media company again? Well, it's on YouTube. Just type Black Box interview with Ebuka and Flavor. Watch it. If you are from Southeast, go and watch that video. You are going to learn so many things from Flavor's story. It's a long story. It's two videos, two episodes, and two of them put together is up to 2 hours. But that 2 hours is his whole career, like from the time he was 9 years old till today. So you can imagine the secrets in that interview. Now, this is the best way they can express themselves and tell you what to do. But to break it down and explain to you, they may not be able to do it. Some do. I've heard people like Paul Play talk, and he really, really knows a lot and knows how to communicate what he knows. So that's the problem. That's a cultural problem. We don't understand that we need information, regardless of who is giving you that information and how successful he is, or his status in the society, or his status in the industry. For instance, a lot of us go to school.
Yes, before you go there, you said something, and I think that's quite instructive. You said, because of the system, we do not pay attention to the process. Then what we do here is, just to succeed at all costs.
Yeah.
Let's us get to the top first. And for that reason, they may not actually have a very concise or any meaningful process to to tell. There's nothing to tell. There's nothing to I think it's quite problematic. It's a problem if you look at it holistically. It's a problem because it's not just in the entertainment industry. It also affects us
in other everywhere.
Things.
In all the
unlike what is obtainable elsewhere, where people document, they have their process, their growth process, everything is documented. But here, everything is just magic.
Beyond the documentation, Seth, the thing is that in those industries, there's a way things work. So when you come in, you're introduced to the system, you're introduced to the process. You're going to go through that process until you get to the point where you are ready. You understand? And in that process, you are learning. You see how things work. So when you get to the top, you can actually tell somebody else how it works because you saw it. You followed it. Just like going to school. If you go to universities to study engineering, computer engineering, you go through a process. It's called discipline courses. You do different courses. By the time you graduate, you've seen all the courses you had to do to learn the things you had to learn to be able to learn programming. When you meet somebody who wants to become a programmer, you can explain the process to the person because you followed an organized learning process and growth process. So in those industries, they have that. Let me give you an example. Alicia Keys was signed to J Records for more than 5 years. Nobody knew anything about her, as talented as she is. Until, okay, she was signed to Arista Records actually for more than, I think, more than 5 years or something like that. Until somebody who was working with Arista pulled out and started his own record label. His name is Clive Davis. He opened his own record label, launched his own record label called J Records, and he took Alicia Keys with him. That was when he released Alicia Keys. That was around 2000 or so. Before then, she was just in the background writing songs for other artists. There are a lot of artists like that, even in Nigeria. They are in record labels, signed. They call it under artist development. That's where you are. That's your stage in that record label, artist development. You have not come to the level that you are recording. Even though sometimes you make a song, they release it and just say, let's test it. Let's see what people would do. Let's see how people see the song, see the artist. Then they continue working on you, waiting for the right time and the right team, and until all the stars align, because they're supposed to make a huge investment in you. So that process doesn't exist in a formal way in Nigeria. And because of that, if I'm 17 years old and I realize I can sing, and I look at the people who have made it, and I could see that there is no defined process that took them there, I just think I might as well do what they did. Just hustle it. Because the examples I see hustled it. So why is someone coming to tell me this is what you have to do? This is how you're going to go about it. You go to music school, you do this, you learn how to play the piano or guitar, you do this and that, and then you join a record label, or you join a musical group, or join the choir, then you join a record label. That thing will be boring to most people because what they see is not what you're talking about. What you're talking about is a different reality from what they see or what has been projected to them. I think one of the things, like I like how you said it, that they document those things in those countries. I think we need to document certain successful journeys in Nigeria to show people that some of these guys that you are looking at actually followed a process. An example is Asha. Asha followed a real process. Another example is Flavor. Flavor didn't just blow. Flavor followed a process. He didn't design the process. It was just somebody who picked him up as a teenager and helped him fight his parents and fight for his career. And he joined a band. And that band, that man, that process molded him into a real performer before he went on his own and started singing in bands. So there is a process. It exists in certain quarters, in certain individual experiences, but it's not an established process that you can suggest for people. So that's why the young people find it difficult to listen. But the truth is that they have bought a lie, because there are a lot of artists who are successful who followed a process. And you can make your own process. And you can make it better by listening to people who know what's up, picking advice from here and there. Advice will always help. It's important because, like I said the other time, I learned to listen to the wise to learn how to be wise. And I learned to listen to people who are not doing it right. Maybe people who have failed, let me put it that way. When you listen to somebody who has tried a lot of things and failed, there's so much to learn from that person, especially things not to do, things to avoid. That is why when people succeed, they write a book, especially in America and UK. When they write that book, in the book, they will tell you their journey. You will see where they failed. Sometimes they failed more times than they succeeded, much more times than they succeeded. And that is where the real juice is. If the person is honest with you, that's where the real juice is. You will see the trappings, the detours, the challenges, the bottlenecks that delay the process. And then you know what to avoid on your own. So every young person, if you're listening to me anywhere, understand that this journey is not for you to do it alone. And you don't have a music family that can mold you. So you need to listen to as many people, experienced people as you can. You're wise enough to know what's not to take and what to take from the person, but just listen. Listen as much information as you can, because You need that. You need so much of that. There are many
All
things
right.
that you. Let me just finish this. When you get to the, if you're 20 years old now, I assure you, by the time you're 27 years old, you're going to say certain things like, I wish I knew this when I was 20 years. I wish somebody told me this when I was 19 years old. But the truth is that if you were looking for those people when you were 19 years old, you would have gotten so much of that information and guidance. Okay? You can come in.
All right. Thank you so much. Of course, that clears it. There are a lot of up and coming artists. I'm sure they are listening. And if you're just joining us, please kindly do us a favor, share this space so that we can have more audience. And mind you, this space is recorded, and we usually send it across all the music platforms. Just follow Amegu. If you follow Amegu, you check out all the activities, follow them and check out the activities on Spotify, on YouTube, on Audiomack, and of course, Facebook, Instagram. They are all over the place. So the previous episodes are all recorded, and we are putting it out there for people to listen. You can share with your friends and families. So today, what we are discussing is what makes an artist, and we have discussed the history. We've spoken about the role of the media in the industry, and we spoke about the record label. Now today we are talking about the artist. The artist is the subject of the discussion. How possible? How can an artist build him or herself when signed or when it's still independent? So we've spoken about the problem or the challenges that may likely, affect any up and coming artist, especially in the area of mentorship and personal development. And I would like us to move towards something else. I think that would be a little bit technical. I wanted that to be a topic of its own, and that has to do with artistry. Um, as an artist, there are so many things you need to understand. Like we mentioned previously, like an artist came to my office today, and the first thing I told him, very major thing I told him was to make sure that he has a sound of his own. I asked him about if he can, make any sound, if he can handle any instruments, and he said no. Can you make sound? Can you record yourself, even on laptop? He said no, but he can sing. He has songs, all over the place. He's also, I mean, he's very good. He has very good voice, but he can't make a sound of his own. He doesn't even know the kind of sound he wants. All he knows about to do, he jumps on sounds. If he hears any sound and if it's good, he jumps on it. Perfect. It works for a lot of people, but I prefer artists to, create their own sound, have a their unique sound that they can work on, so that when you are producing a sound, I'm sure any artist, any artist that is very creative, I'm sure there will not be any producer that will ever meet their test, no matter how much you try. If the artist knows what he's doing, there must be something that you would like to add, right? Am I still
Okay.
audible?
Yeah, you're audible enough.
Okay, so what I'm saying in essence is that what are the things artists need to do apart from the mentorship? We've spoken about the mentorship. We've spoken about the personal development. These are the things that they need to do as to discipline themselves, to to be very consistent, and the rest. Then we are moving on to other creative aspects of it. Yes, the artistry.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are the artistry things that one has to do as an artist? What are the things we have spoken about them, some of them, but I want you to go deeper on that before we delve to something else.
Okay. I wanted to talk about this in a way that just that it's not supposed to be a lecture, but I wanted to talk about this in those three parts. And when I was off, I think you talked a lot about things I didn't hear, but I'm assuming that you touched the person and the brand, and that's why you're moving towards the artistry side. Now, truth is that your sound as an artist, your sound and your voice and um, your music personality, your creative personality, put it that way, they derive from different things. One is your background, your genetics. Your voice comes from your forebears, from your ancestors. And that actually has a strong bearing on who you're going to be as an artist. Then most of the times, the sound of an artist comes from the various influences that they had growing up. If you grow up in America as a Nigerian and your parents play only American music, you're not going to have a Nigerian sound. No matter how Nigerian you are, you're not going to have a Nigerian sound as an artist, because as you're growing up as a talented person, everything you listen to from the time you were born till you become some kind of an adult shape your taste, your desires, your inclination. I mean, musically, your style, your preferences, the sounds that appeal to you, because that's what you are exposed to. It doesn't mean that that's all about you, but that's what shaped you. That's what molded you as an artist. So most of the times, people sing or write songs according to the kind of music they listen to growing up. And so for me, if you're a professional music maker, if you go deep into that, you get to a point where you listen to an artist sing, maybe hear an album or just listen to an artist sing a couple of songs. You can tell where they got their inspiration from. You can tell who they listen to growing up. Sometimes you can. So that is one of the ways that an artist gets a sound. You listen to a lot of people and you get to a point where you try to do your own thing. Unfortunately, not everybody can write songs. Like the guy you were talking about, maybe he doesn't know how to write. Maybe he just knows how to sing. And for him, he needs a partner. Since he's not on a record label, most of the times what happens is that when a record label signs you because you can sing, then they put a team together led by the A&R who sits down to design your sound. This is how your sound is going to go. This is what you will sound like. And that sound is going to be aligned with your voice texture, your vocal texture, the way your voice sounds, and then your person matters. I'm going to dig into that a little bit because it matters. If you're a gentleman, you can't be like the band. Your person will get into your personality and also get into your music, because as an artist, one of the most important things for you to be able to become a great artist is authenticity. You have to be authentic. It has to be real, natural. Yeah, some people have alter ego, they call it whatever they want to call it. But the truth is that what you call alter ego, to an extent, is a part of you that was caged, boxed in for a long time. So you have fame, you have power, and you have the freedom to express that part of you. So the guy that came to you doesn't necessarily have the process that helped him to find himself as a musician. And if he doesn't write songs, he may never have that until he finds himself in a team or in a partnership. Let me give you an example. The Bunch. Don Jazzy said he met the Bunch in London. The Bunch was just one noisy guy who likes music so much, who understands what's going on in the music industry, but he didn't know what he was about. He knew he couldn't really sing much, and he was not a rapper. So what am I? I'm sure he was asking himself the questions like, what can I do, Seth? He didn't know where to fall in. I mean, you can't define the band as a singer, proper singer, and you can't define the band as a proper rapper. You can't put him in those places. It's difficult. And there are other Nigerian artists like that. But someone came into his life, into his career life, and helped him tailor all that. That is Don Jazzy. Don Jazzy created that sound completely. He wrote the songs, he made the beats, he decided the direction of the music and made sure it's consistent. The band had its own roles anyway. The branding side of it, the personality, he molded it by himself according to what they. So the two of them had a beautiful marriage, a beautiful music marriage that comes from friendship and chemistry, and I think it was destiny anyway. So this your guy needs that kind of person if he can't write. But for those who can write songs, the best thing to do is at some point stop listening to the people you listen to and find yourself. Because sometimes some artists that you listen to are too influential. When you listen to them so much, you can't even find yourself. Every time you see people say, ah, he sounds like that person. Hey, he sounds like R. Kelly. Hey, he sounds like Beyonce. And you can never have an identity when you are like that. At some point, you're going to stop listening to that artist and listen to other artists. Open up your library to other artists. Listen to different, diverse artists. That helps you to get some level of exposure that will help you determine who you are, find your sound. One other way you actually find your sound is to learn to play an instrument. Because if you learn to play an instrument, you begin to try to do certain songs your own way.
Exactly what I said to him. Like I gave him examples of sound, examples of people that created sound from from original sounds, and I
Yes.
explained to him that if they were not able to handle
Play an
instruments
instrument.
or play any musical instrument, they wouldn't have come
Yes.
up with that.
Yeah.
And I watched the make of Love Wanted by CK.
Yeah.
He explained how he started and everything the song, everything that he put, together to make that sound. And
Yes.
it was so fascinating to to know that he could actually put all those sounds. And there were sounds. There are certain sounds that he, that were included that
Yeah.
can only come from someone that understands himself. If you look at the breakdown of that, song, the making of that
Yeah.
breakdown, the
Yeah.
song, you understand there are
Yeah.
certain sounds included in that track that can only come from someone who owns the music that understands it. It can't come from any random producer,
Question.
no matter how
Yeah.
good the person is. So
Yeah.
that is very necessary because you are no longer just singing on a beat. You are now creating a sound that you can communicate your soul, your inner, your feeling, emotion, or
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
into.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
producing the beats, the sound, and
Yeah.
of course the music, the lyrics that you'll be voicing in. So it is very important that they have that skill, especially having to, play musical instruments. It's very important. I agree.
Putting it simply, being able to play an instrument while you sing or before you sing, however you do it, I think it helps you bring out your absolute expression. That is why when you see artists who play instruments and sing, they don't need to stand up and jump around, but you can feel a lot of things going on from their voice because everything they're doing is coming out through their voice and the sound. They don't have to jump around. There's too much passion coming out of that, and you can connect to that. An example is Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder will sit down on the piano with his band and perform. People are jumping, people are shouting. Another example is Kirk Franklin. He doesn't sing anyway, so his own is different. But on the piano, he's conducting his choir and talking. He's a talker. Come and sing it. And then he'll play the piano. But the expression, the passion he's putting into that piano gives a certain energy that you cannot ignore. It's so powerful. I think that everybody who wants to be a musician should learn how to play an instrument. I believe that. I mean, if you go to a proper music school, you can never graduate without playing an instrument. It's not possible. It's not possible. It's the basic. In fact, some music schools insist that you learn how to play three instruments. Three. Because that's where you learn the rudiments. That's why you understand beats, timing, keys, notes, scales. It's when you learn to play an instrument. Like I do coaching sometimes, you know, and when I run classes, I take them to the rudiments sometimes. Like I show them certain things that they have ignored growing up in music that they have to go back to. And the reason why they have to go back to that is because they didn't learn how to play an instrument. So it's like going into secondary school or primary school without nursery school, as in singing without learning how to play an instrument. I mean, how do you even know what to tell the musicians that you're singing with? I remember the day Michael Jackson I watched a video. This is it concert. That concert that he was supposed to, that tour he was supposed to do before he died. He was doing rehearsals for that tour, and this song, "The Way You Make Me Feel," that particular song, they were rehearsing the song, and when they started playing the instruments, they started with the piano, like that. So he listened to that. He stopped the guy. He told him that the tempo is too fast. He gave with his humming, he gave him the right tempo. Just go like this. Go. He gave him the right tempo. This was a song he made probably 15 years before that day. But he still remembers the right tempo because he studied music well. He knows music well. Michael Jackson knew the keys of his songs, knew the tempos of his songs.
Increase
This
your
is one of
volume.
I said Michael Jackson knew the basic details of his songs to the point of tempo and key. So and that is because he knows music. He plays his songs to himself. So let's say you're on the stage and you want to do a little improvisation on the stage. How do you communicate it to the instrumentalist if you don't even know what they're doing? If you have no idea what they're doing. But if you understand it, you can easily look at them and say, let's switch it to key G or key D. Even on the microphone, or just look at them and just mention it to one of them, switch to key G. You just switch to key G. They know exactly what you said because you know what you said. But the only reason why you knew that key G was going to work is because you played or you have rehearsed with it, so you know this key works for me. Sometimes it's the chord and change the chord. So knowing how to play an instrument, the benefits are boundless. But the most important is your creative process. Most of the artists you see on TV from America who perform, who do great work, they have a piano in their house or a guitar. When they want to write songs, this is where they go to their creative space, their creative zone, and work. But on the stage, they don't present that person who plays an instrument. They are more of performing artists. They don't necessarily play so well, but they just play the rudiments. Let me give you an example. If you watch Empire, the TV series Empire, I think every budding artist should watch that series. It shows you the creative process of an artist. It shows you the business side of the industry. It shows you the basic the details of what happens in a record label, how a record label navigates with an artist on their career path, and the things that come out of consequences from actions and wrong decisions that people make. You just pick up so much from that TV series. I watched it not because I was crazy about Empire, but because this was my best documentary for music industry in America. So being able to play an instrument is non-negotiable. It's sacrosanct. But the reason why most people don't do that is because there are certain things that you're supposed to learn when you're very young. If you look at most elite families or middle-class families, even in Nigeria, you notice that people who come from those families will tell you, when I was 5 years old, my father took me to piano lesson or brought a piano teacher. They did that a lot in those days. People still do it today because they understand the importance of that. There are certain things you learn better when you're young because you're not distracted and you're not in a hurry. You're not pursuing any dream that you want to achieve quickly. But once you get to the age of 17, 18, you are exposed to the media too much. You're watching movies, you're looking at Twitter, you're looking at Instagram, you see fame, you see people driving Bentley, Phantom, and all that. And you're like, I want this. I want this. So your focus moves directly to the end product, that you don't care so much about the process. And if you ask the person to learn how to play an instrument at the age of 25, it's not going to be the same experience anymore because they're thinking about so many things. Even in the class, they're distracted. It takes a lot to learn it, but it's very important. Another thing I was going to say, hello? Are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Another thing I'm going to say is this. For those who don't know how to write songs and don't have a team to work with, one of the things that will help you develop your ability to write songs if you want to, beyond going for songwriting classes, one of the things you could do is to learn to do covers. Just find songs you like, that people who sang songs that you can relate to. It doesn't have to be the same style, but if the message resonates with you, that's important. If you love the sound, if you love the song, that's okay. Then you pick up the song and adjust it to you, to what feels like you. For instance, Won't You Help Me Sing? The Song of Freedom was done by Bob Marley. I've heard Lauryn Hill do the same song. I've heard Stevie Wonder do the same song. And he did it like an R&B soul song because that's what he does. So he adjusted it and adapted it to himself. He didn't have to rewrite the lyrics, but it sounds like him. And what that does for you is it helps you to connect with you more. Being able to take a song that was done in a particular way and turn it to what feels more like you, even though you can't write. It helps you to connect with who you are, to find you, to find, okay, this is what I am comfortable with. Not just comfortable with, but this is what is natural for me. This is the one I'm feeling. If it is reggae music, for instance, that you like, and you take a Wizkid song, you find a way to turn it to a reggae song. Sometimes maybe you have an instrumentalist around you, like a pianist or a bassist. Instead of, can you play this thing like reggae? Let's see what it sounds like. Sometimes it might have to be done by you if you play an instrument. But trying to make covers that suit you helps improve your creative process, helps you find you more. A lot of artists that you see started with covers. They did several covers. Today, thank God for the internet and the social and the digital technology and all the platforms. It makes it easier for you to actually have a consistent plan on that. That you can be recording song every week.
There is also other thing, sampling.
Sampling is when you understand production. You have to understand production before you can actually think about sampling. But yeah, I forgot to say that. I don't know why female artists do not try to produce. I don't understand it, especially in Nigeria.
Could it be okay, I don't know what to say now, but could it be because they see it as men thing or what?
Okay, I could say that I don't want to say something negative now. Okay, I can say that it's a program in their head.
But Thames produced though. She produces.
Thames is an outlier.
Yeah, she is.
She's an outlier. She's not like everybody.
Maybe that's the reason why we don't have much female artists.
It's
in
part
Nigeria.
of it.
But Uche, like there's something I've noticed in the Nigerian music industry. People will say, "Yeah, I produce, I do this," but how many of your songs, official songs, do you produce? That is what question I always ask. So if you're not good enough to produce your own song and for your record label to pick it up and say, "Yeah, you're releasing this," maybe you shouldn't put that as maybe a kind of in your CV, until you're there. You understand? I think they do that a lot.
I agree with you. The thing is, people don't understand that there's a line. There's a line. There's a boundary. Like before you call yourself a professional, there is a certain standard you have to get to. You must get to. Like somebody was telling me the other day, should I address you as CEO? I laughed. I said no. Why? The fact that people put CEO on their name all over Twitter and Facebook doesn't mean that they are CEO. You're a CEO because you have people that you are leading, not because you run a company. It means chief executive officer. That means you have a lot of people under you. You have a management system that you're working. You are the head of it. There's an operation. There are people. There are managers under you. So you that's what makes you a CEO. Or else you're just a founder, or you're self-employed, or you're a manager, or a director. It's the same thing with music. It's easier to say I'm a singer or I'm a musician. You can even say something lighter, I'm a music maker. Nobody will judge you. But when you say I'm a producer, what it means is that you are a professional producer. People will pay for you to produce them. But most record labels don't sign you because you produced your song. But if you show that you can produce your song, even though it's not good enough, they can see talent in you. This guy could produce his song. It means he has come a long way. He has learned something about production. That means he can contribute in the making of his songs. Even when we appoint a producer to work with him, he can work with the producer, because producers who are really good appreciate people who appreciate what they're doing, who understand the process, who can add one thing or two. If they see that they can vibe with you very well, they'll listen to you. Like everybody who produced me as an artist always listened to me. And I wasn't a producer, but I understood certain things. Sometimes I don't even want, I tell you the chords I want. And when you play it and I sing, you can see why I'm saying that. So it helps.
So I will give you an example. I want to play something to buttress the point I was making on that. I get your point, but I want to play something right now. This is by Johan Pachelbel. He did a song I think it's a very old in the 18th century, I should say, Canon in D major. That's the name, and that is a classic. And it was sampled by Maroon 5, in the memory. So I will play the song to show you what I should say is obtainable. Now, that was a Johann Pachelbel Canon in D
Okay.
major. That was a very old classic too.
Johann Pachelbel.
Yeah. So now here is the
yeah.
here, before that there was also I See You When You Get There by
I was going to
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
Now listen to this.
Cheers to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause our drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause our drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring.
So that's exactly what I was talking about. I just gave that as an example. Yeah. So we can have something like that, especially, and of course we actually do. Fino did something with Celeste Ruku, I think. Techno did something with, I think it's, what's his name now? From Atani in Anambra State, the High Life King. So we have something like that. And a lot of artists, Sadebe, exactly. So a lot of up and coming artists can actually look at some of these things. Yeah.
Actually, the truth is that music is not recreated. Music is only recreated.
I swear, creative fire. Who are you? I can tell you.
Nobody's reinventing the wheel. Nobody's reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. I can tell you many songs that have been sampled from many classics, many of them, because I listen to classics a lot, and I know when I hear
some of them. I wouldn't really call it sampling. Sampling is different from just adopting sounds, ideas, like what?
Yes. No, I think the word is not sampling. I should say adopting the melody, because here, in this case, memory and canon, it's actually the melody. Yeah.
But the one from what's his name again? Oh, Coolio. I'll see you if you get there.
Coolio, yeah.
It was sampling.
Okay.
Why I call it sampling is because the same line of instrumentation with the strings, the same orchestration was used on his own. It was played the same way. There was no alteration. But you may not call it sampling.
That part is also part of that instrument. There is a place where it says ta-na-na-na, there is a place for on that. So it's also even in memories. Even
the one of memory,
Judy K. Yeah.
The one of memories. They changed the mode of presentation.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But the one of Coolio, it's as if you went to take the strings and just paste it into his music. That's how it sounds, and that's what hip hop was built on. Hip hop music, most earlier times of hip hop music was made that way because hip hop was produced mostly by DJs. All right, and DJs, what you call DJ now is very small compared to what people did when DJ was something. where you play tapes and vinyls and create magic from that. You're not using machines like computer, but you create magic. Like you put sounds together in a very, very amazing way, like overdubs and all that, and people can't even understand how you did that. You take a beat, cut off some part of the beat. You take an instrumental, maybe it's a saxophone somewhere, cut off that one, put it together, pan it together in one sound, then a rapper raps on it. Those kind of things. Sometimes they'll slow down the tempo of the song. Sometimes they make it faster. That's why sometimes you hear the voice of the person in the background sounding like, it sounded like, I don't know what to call it, wobbling, And sometimes if they lay hands on the instrumentals of that song, they just change the tempo to suit what they want to do. Put it in the hip hop tempo that works. Then put it on a beat. That is actually the basic word for sampling. That's the basic expression of sampling, taking something and putting it in your own, literally. But when you adopt the sound, when you adopt what was done, it's actually part of sampling, but it's more of adaptation. There was something that happened with Michael Jackson. I want to be starting something. I want to be starting something. He did that song and it was a big hit. It was a massive hit. And after some months, somebody sued him from Africa. An African, I can't remember the name of that guy, but he made a song that had a particular phrase that Michael Jackson put in the song. Maybe Michael Jackson heard it somewhere and liked it. Maybe he didn't even remember where he heard it from, but he put it in the song. That's the important thing, and it already exists somewhere else. That part he says, that was somebody's song. And that was a highlight of that particular song. I mean, the Wanna Be Started Something song. So that is also part of sampling. And sometimes it's not good. If you do it directly, it's not good unless you do it with permission, because they can sue you. There are boundaries. There are boundaries you can't cross. If you cross those boundaries, the owner of the content will sue you and will make a lot of money off you. For instance, I remember when, was it Common was sued? I remember when Nas was sued. I remember when Kanye West was sued. And these people made a lot of money from them. There was one recent event that happened. What's the name of this artist? Oh, I can't remember the name, but it's a contemporary, recent artist, a female artist. She is a pianist in America. I can't remember his name. I follow him on Instagram, and he made a song. He made a piano piece, and this girl took that piano piece and wrote a song with it, without knowing that they will find out. And they released the song, and it was a big hit. And the guy sued. It took some time. The whole thing was trending on Instagram. After some time, the guy won, and she had to settle. So it's not something that we should do without caution. It's something that we should do within the confines of the law. Seek the advice of what we call copyright lawyer to guide you when you're sampling. Forget that in Nigeria, not many artists pick up these things and put in their songs. The truth is that they can get sued. Sometimes,
yeah, I agree with you, Chuka. I wasn't actually advocating for outright, sampling. What I'm saying is that, like you said something, the truth is that we don't create anything. We only just replicate what is already existing. And sometimes when I listen to some of the content, especially classics, I ask myself if a lot of foreign artists they make use of classics a lot, in their craft. So I asked myself, why can't we in Nigeria or artists in Africa recreate stuff like that? Recreate something. It might not necessarily be sampling everything. You can have some melody or some tune, gotten from there, right? And have it to recreate it. It will bring back a lot of memories, right? Can bring back.
You're talking about more like a remix, right?
However yes, but it will not be an outright sampling, right? It will not be an outright sampling. That is bad. That one is illegal. I'm talking about creating something off from.
It can actually be done legally. That's where I'm driving at. For instance, Every Step I Take was done by Police, a white male group called Police. It wasn't composed by PDD and the group. Do you understand? But because it's a proper industry, they follow the rules. They got the permission and they signed the deal. So when the song became a hit, police or whoever wrote that song also made money. Do you understand? So
Yeah, yeah, you can actually legally you can actually legally approach whoever that owns that sound and gets to agree with the person. It must not. You can,
yes,
in this country we do a lot of things illegally and get away with it. And that's what the point I'm making. Because if you check in
one
America,
of the
in
reasons.
America, for example, they go
Yeah.
out and reach out to these people, and they have even the sampling of these classics. You don't just sample it in America because they have it. They own that,
Well,
right?
for the
They
classics, there's
own the
something called
rights.
for the classic. There's something called public domain, right? I don't know how many years, but there's a number of years your creative work gets into the public domain. Anybody can use it. Do you
Okay.
understand? Yes, what you call copyright actually has a duration. Just like books. I don't know if you're aware of this. If you write a book, I think after 100 years or 70, I can't remember how many years. After that number of years, that book can be published by anybody. It gets into the public domain. There's no restriction anymore on that content.
Okay. All
So
right,
that applies
Chuka,
to music.
we are
Yeah.
making going to be rounding off because we are going to be stopping by 9 immediately.
Okay.
9 dots. That's when we're going to be stopping. So we are going to be rounding off, right? We just have a few minutes to go.
Okay.
In rounding off, what are we expecting to see moving forward? From what we expect from an artist that is already signed, in a record label? What are the first starting points? What are the second step, and the third possibly? Then the next thing that we may be discussing is the outlook of an artist. We'll talk about why we do not have enough psychedelic artists that are psychedelic or eccentric, I should say, from this part of the world, from Southeast. We don't have enough of that, and we'll talk about the cultural influence or the reason why we don't have it. That will be the next episode. So if you are here, join us when we'll be talking about the eccentricity in art history, why we have less or very few of them in the industry. I think the only person that we have from this part of the world should be Charlie Boy, right? In conclusion, what are the steps? The first step, the second step, and the third step, in summary.
I think I have already mentioned something about that. But when you are in a record label, if you're already in the room, you're already in the room, it's a different thing. If you are signed to a proper record label or something that looks like that, you just need to yield to the system.
Increase your volume. Increase your volume. So I just want us to round off on this. Just summarize the whole thing for us.
When you're signed to a record label, you understand that you're under authority. You understand that you have a relationship with these guys. They brought you into a family. You're in a family, and there are rules of engagement. There is a contract existing between that guides your relationship and your transactions, and you have to respect that contract. There are things you must not do, and there are things you must do. There is an authority in that relationship, and the authority is a record label. So you have to align yourself with the goals, the policies, the values of the record label, their rules. Align yourself properly, and then allow yourself to be trained. Even though you shouldn't lose yourself in the process, but you have to allow yourself to flow, be flexible. You don't need to be strong-headed. You don't need to be unnecessarily difficult, because they are there to make money, and the only way
why are they naturally stubborn? Why are they creatives? Why are they very stubborn naturally? Why?
Passion is one of them. Passion is one of the reasons. Second thing is that the way you are raised is the way you behave. That's where I was bringing the person from, and the three sides of an artist. The person. Next time I'm going to talk about that, but just to say something about that, people invest in their music talents. People invest in their branding and marketing, but people do not invest in their personal growth. And the personal growth is the foundation of everything we're talking about. That personal growth is what determines how far the other sides work and how long they are sustained. More than that, when everything else is gone, that is what is left. You, your person, your character, your lifestyle, your habits, your decisions, your relationships. I mean, the real relationships in your life. Because fame is fleeting. Even wealth sometimes is fleeting. But fame doesn't last forever. Go and look at the people that reigned in the 70s in Nigeria. Nobody talks to them. I'm a friend with should I mention his name? No. There's a particular artist in the 90s who was a contemporary artist in the 90s. He was huge. The young people loved him so much. Today, he makes videos of his old songs. Just make a video, maybe in his car, and sing it and post on Facebook. He will get like 20 or 30 likes and maybe 4 comments. People don't care that he exists anymore. They've forgotten about him. Sometimes I engage him because I really, really admire, I respect what he did. I celebrate it. But that's what happens with fame. At some point, people are going to replace you. And people will forget about you. If you're unlucky, you exist in a country where there are no recognitions, you're forgotten completely. Just like Michael Cree and the rest of them. People don't remember those people anymore. But these guys were superstars. And that's what happens with fame. It's fleeting. It will go. The wealth side, unfortunately, if you're an artist who built his career, who built his wealth, everything on the music career, when the fame is gone, your wealth might be gone too, unless you are able to structure your career in a way that you have content and you have copyrights that are sustained over time, so you can keep making your money. Maybe you are the one who makes songs. But if you build your person properly, when all those things are gone, you still have you. You still have a person that is complete and stable. You still have a normal life that you can survive. You still have relationships that you didn't lose when you became famous. And you also have investments you've made into your personal life, even financial investments that you can rely on. For instance, investments you made outside the music industry. That's you. Taking care of that you is more important than anything of the other two. So as an artist in the record label, you have to understand that you don't get carried away by what you're chasing and forget about who you are. And it takes time. This thing takes time.
All right.
I'll say it again. It takes time. You can't rush success. If you rush success, you come back. But if you follow the process, what happens is that you have laid a foundation. So you can always come and pick from that foundation. An example is Timaya. Timaya has a solid foundation as an artist. He knows how to always come and pick it up. Two-Face has a solid foundation. He knows how to always come and pick
One
it up.
of the very most important threats about Timaya is ability to evolve, to transit from.
Yeah, he's flexible.
Yes, very flexible. So it's part of the conversation that we're going to be having. We're going to dedicate a topic episode on an artist involvement, being able to evolve, to being able to be flexible, right, to move with the trend, not being left behind. I thank you so much, Chuka, for today's episode. It has been a very enlightening one, and we truly appreciate your presence and your time and all those in the books, Henry, all of you that joined us. We thank you. We appreciate all of you. And of course, we promise that we'll continue to do this. We will be posting it out via our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, of course, on Twitter. Go there and check it out. Today's episode, we are going to upload it on our music platforms. Check Amegu everywhere, on Spotify, AudioMac, on YouTube. It is everywhere. Go and check it out and listen to the previous episode. Then connect that to what we currently what we are talking about. It has it has that chain that connects all of them. So next episode, we are going to be talking about the eccentricity of an artist. I'm going to delve into that deeply. It's something that you are not, you must not miss. I want to appreciate everyone, and of course, take this opportunity to bring on board the Amegu himself to give us closing remarks so that we call it a day. Amegu, you are up next.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope the noise from my background is not as horrible as it was before. So
it's okay now.
Oh, okay, great. So once again, thank you, Chuka, for the wealth of knowledge you um, afforded us with. And I want to thank everybody that joined us. Please keep on joining us on this series and keep on following whatever Amegu is doing. I am Chukwuka, or someone representing Amegu on this series, and you can check out our other shows hosted by the likes of Odumegu and Chisom. We are bringing together creatives and great minds like Uche Okoye to help us push the Southeast entertainment industry to where it deserves to be. So I will leave you to rest tonight and hope to meet you again um, next Friday, same time, same place. Thank you.
All right. On that note, I want to say a very big thank you to all of you that found out time to be with us, and more importantly, Chuka. Chuka is an embodiment of knowledge. He is deeply rooted in the industry. So if you want to understand much more, kindly tune in. And more importantly, follow the handles so that you're able to know when next the program will kickstart. So I want to appreciate all of you for having, your spending your time with us, listening to us, your contribution and every effort you've made by sharing our contents and whatnot. We appreciate that, everyone. We want to say a very, very big thank you to Amegu for having this platform, to educate our people, to engineer that conversation, because it's very important. It's important that we have the conversation that will trigger reaction and the rest of the action that will going to come in future. We are hopeful that this is going to get to the right person, and whoever that listens and gives. Yeah, we appreciate the feedback so far. We've gotten a lot of them, and whoever that is listening now, going to listen to us, that I'm sure you will learn one or two things. And I want to thank everyone again, and I say have a wonderful night from here. I want to say bye bye.